Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is my October Flosstube update. My name is Leah and today is a pretty quick update. So what I'm going to show you today is my updates for October, my 2 new starts. That brings me back up to 12 whips. Now I've celebrated going down to 10 last time because I had 2 finishes, but now I'm back up. So yeah, then I want to start a challenge until the end of the year. I'm going to show you a comparison between CXC and DMC floss because a viewer asked me about it. And yeah, I have a little bit of haul that you see up here, but more on that later. So first of all, let me show you my first new start. I started this in September actually, at the end of September, and that was a time when I was able to visit a friend by train, and so the corona numbers were not as high in Germany and I could travel a little bit. But yeah, that made me start a travel project because at that time I didn't really have any project that I could easily bring with me, that didn't have too many flaws, wasn't too big, and that I wasn't scared of getting a little bit dirty. And so I started my kit I bought from Aliexpress that I showed you last time, the butterfly, and this is my start. So let me get my scissors, matching butterfly scissors. And yeah, so it's on 18 count Ada and the floss is mulberry natural silk, and it's supposed to be stitched with 2 strands over 1, and that's what I did down here, but I really didn't like it. So the floss is a little bit loose and it's really hard to make it look nice. So I wasn't really happy how it's turning out. It was really hard to get it to look neat. So I decided to rip out everything I already did. It was like this part up here, and redid it with 1 stitch over 1. And I'm really, in general, struggling with 18 count 2 over 1. And with this floss, I really like actually the coverage. It's not bad, I think. And I will rip out the green as well. I really don't like the look. I want my stitches to look nice, and it's much easier to stitch on it with 1 strand. And I think the coverage is pretty nice up here, so I can make it work. And this is not an active whip. This is not something that I want to finish in as quickly as possible. This is just something that I easily can take with me. Now we're only visiting my parents-in-law, and maybe when we go there and watch a movie, I can take this with me to stitch there. It's just something to keep my hands busy when I'm out, so I don't have any pressure on making much progress there. So that's my first new start in September. Then my next start is from October, and this is my progress on the Lunar Autumn Witch by Autumn Lane. No, it's the Lunar Witch by Autumn Lane Stitchery, and I'm doing a color conversion. So this is 16 count Ada, stitching 2 over 2, and as you can see here, I'm using gold floss instead of the called for orangey yellow golden DMC. And I really love how it turns out. I have to keep the light away a little bit so you can see it better. This is her dress and her dark red cloak and a part of her broom. So in October I worked on her for, let me see, 14.5 hours, and this is where I got to. So a little bit of backstory behind this. By the way, this is 16 count Ada by XG design, and I'm sorry, but I don't remember what color it is. It's like a grayish, greenish with some yellowish modeling, and I thought this was perfect for the witch in the forest. Now, so Cassandra and Aaron showed this in their Flosstube. If you don't watch them, go and watch them. They're so fun to watch. So they announced this a few weeks or months even ago, and I already knew when this is released I will start it right away, and I bought it like 1 week after it was released in October. And I thought, so in the beginning I wanted to stitch it as called for, and then I looked for a matching fabric and I really wasn't sure about it, and I put it into a graphics program and changed around some colors on accident, and then I thought, ooh, I might change some colors here. So that's when I made this. And if you follow me on Instagram, I posted it and asked you guys what was your favorite, and you had a hard time as well deciding on what was your favorite. But then when I bought the pattern, I sent this to Cassandra and she showed it to Aaron, and they were pretty excited about my color conversion, and I was so thankful they took a look at it and helped me decide to do this color conversion. So the difference from the original is that the cloak is dark red instead of orange, and the trees are like a dark grayish, or not a dark, but a grayish blue in the background. So it looks like the forest is, it's a night forest, and yeah, so I wanted to look even less Halloweeny, even though it's not really Halloweeny, which I'm highly appreciated about this pattern. I love it. I love this design so much. And yeah, so this is how it went. Thank you so much to everyone on Instagram, and thank you so much to Cassandra and Aaron for helping me to decide it. I really thought about it. Was so difficult to decide. I remember I had like 2 nights where I almost couldn't sleep because I always went back to the image and played around with colors, and I really didn't know what to do. So I finally decided to do this, and I thought, when I finish this and I regret doing not picking another color, I would just do another version of it and stitch it all over again. So that helped me to calm my mind. So yeah, that's what I stitched on in October. So the next thing I did in October was my Murky Manor, and I'm so close to finishing it, but I always think that, and I really wanted to finish this year. But I don't know, I'm still trying, but I'm still not sure if I can do it. Now, I didn't stitch much in October. I did some paint by numbers and some diamond painting, and I actually didn't have the strength to do hobbies at all. So I was so tired, and that's why I don't really have much progress, and I didn't really make many videos. So thank you for sticking around, and yeah, but this is how it goes, and I'm on my way to making things better. Now I have to lower... Okay, so I had to lower the brightness a bit so it's more true to color, and yeah, this is how far I've come. Now I stitched on it quite a bit, but I actually decided to change a color, and I look on my phone to see if I have a picture of what it looked like last time. I just sent it to my email inbox so I don't have to edit the video. Give me a second here. So this is how it looked like last time. And as you can see, there's a big chunk on here missing and some of the grass area, and that's what I did here. I finished the window and the house part. I just have to fill in a little bit of the wall down here, and I worked on the grass, and I changed the darkest green color on here because the colors that were called for are super similar, and even on the cover of the pattern you don't really see the shadows. And I didn't really like that, because always when I stitched I thought, why am I even changing colors? This looks completely like the same color that is called for in the pattern. So if you take a look up here, you don't really see, it's hard to focus. So below the posts you don't really, let me find that, you don't really see a shadow down here, and around the house you see the dark green, but along the house there's a different color actually, and you don't see that. So I changed the color to DMC 500 and ripped it all out. Now luckily it wasn't that much I had to do, otherwise I think I wouldn't have done it. But now you see around the house there's a part that's much darker. I mean, it's a shame. Now you see the posts and the skulls so well, and there's some part that I restitched up here, and here in the middle you again see the shadow of the post and the shadow, oh, don't cut the stitching, Leah, and you see the shadow of the pumpkin and up here along the house, and I think that's all of that color so far. Now what's still missing now is the grassy area here. There are 2 tombstones that I still have to stitch. I have to finish the fence up here, which should be pretty quick, and around here there's a ghost missing, and I actually lost. I'm sorry. I lost the glow-in-the-dark floss, so I don't know if I should order a new spool of Kreinik, and I don't really have anything I want to order right now, so I don't know if I should place an order for 1 spool of Kreinik. I'm really on the fence about that. Maybe I just stitch it in white, because to be honest, it's really rare that I will see my stitching in the darkness to have it glow. So if in a few years I could restitch that ghost pretty quickly if I decide that it bothers me, but I really don't think that it will. So I probably will just stitch it in white. And then there's a part of the wall missing up here and the final rooftop. So it's still doable until the end of the year. That's my really big goal, to finish it this year. And I have to do a big chunk up here so far, but it's not impossible. So that's my goal, my final goal for this year, apart from the challenge that I will show you just in a few seconds or minutes. So yeah, that's my Glendon place. As I say every time, I started this like more than 10 years ago, and I'm really happy to finally get it done. I mean, I love it, but every time I stitch on it, I think, oh, it's about time this gets finished. So yeah. And now, oh, also what I wanted to tell you about this. This is mostly, no, you see my back. This is mainly stitched with CXC, and a viewer wrote an email to me and asked that she wanted to start a Heaven and Earth designs with CXC floss, and she was unsure about some things. So this is stitched mainly with CXC, but I still have some DMC in between, and I think it's really not a big deal to mix the two flosses. Now on a bigger count like this, I think it's a 32 count, 2/2, you don't see a difference between flosses, really, and I didn't have any problem with the shades of the floss. So I'm pretty confident to tell you that you can safely try it out, but I want to do a close-up comparison of DMC and CXC now. Okay, so what's the difference apart from its 8 or 10 cents per skein versus like 95 cents per skein? So the purple one is DMC and the blue one is CXC, and it's really hard for my camera to focus, but I don't think you can see much of a difference. And I don't think that CXC is actually thicker than DMC. It's just a tiny bit, and the downside of CXC is that it's not that even. So within this bunch there are parts that are a bit looser, like more loosely like spun, and it doesn't have a quality control as DMC. So with DMC you hardly have any color differences, and like differences in consistency, or like not consistency, but it's like all of this is completely the same width, and there's no knots or parts that are more fluffy or less fluffy. But within CXC you might have those issues, but not very often. So as you can see up close, there's really not much of a difference. Just to remind you, the purple one is DMC and the blue one is CXC. Now when you hold them up like this, it's so difficult to see a difference, and it was hard. I filmed today and I found like 2 skeins that had the same color, one of each floss, but I had to refilm this because we had such a loud construction work in front of our house, and I have to refilm now, and I didn't find the colors. Oh no, now my computer is starting up again. So I think the best way to demonstrate this is with my Heaven and Earth designs. This is Perfect Wisdom Story Keep, and I'm stitching this with mixed colors. So the dark blue up here is DMC, and most of the colors down here are CXC. So I think you don't see it. People said don't mix them, but if you watch your tension, you can do it. You have to be more careful with CXC, because CXC tends to be a little bit more loose. So DMC lies more nicely and it looks a little bit more shiny most of the time, but in the end, I mean, I don't know if this is the same for everyone, but as I stitched on this for years and months and had it in my hands a lot of times, DMC is not as shiny anymore when it's stitched for me after a while. That's just what happens over time. So it looks so similar to me, it's hard for me to tell the difference. I think it looks very uniform or very similar. You can't really tell what's DMC and what's CXC. But CXC is actually for me a little bit more challenging to look nice, because as CXC is woven, no, it's not woven, but like there are two strands within one strand of floss that are like spun around each other, like twisted around each other, and the DMC is more tight and the CXC can be in some places more loose. So when it's more loose within the strand, it tends to be a little bit more bulky, and I think that's the reason why people say that CXC has better coverage. But I mean, in the end, you don't look as close as this on your stitching. So I don't see any problem with mixing DMC and CXC. But I think that's different for every stitcher, as you really have to watch your tension to have the CXC like lie as tight as the DMC. So I always prefer DMC, but it's like a matter of budget. Now let me show you. It's difficult for my camera to focus that close. Now here you see those are probably CXC floss strands, and I think I don't know, man, it's so hard to know which one is which. Like the brown is DMC, it's so hard to tell. I mean, the green ones in here I know are CXC, and I know that the green one is even more loose than other CXC's flosses, so even within CXC, and I think that's the big downside of it, you have strands that are thinner and some are thicker, but it's within such a small range that you barely notice any difference. I hope you can tell. Now I know that this blue is also DMC. Like, I think you can see a really good... It's so hard to have it focus. Like, these dark ones are all DMC, and the light ones are CXC. You see up close a very tiny difference. But it's like, it's not huge. So, it's so difficult for me to bend over and try to hold it still and have it focus. So let me focus on the bigger piece. So now, what the other question the girl asked was if there are color differences. And I think, yes, sometimes there are and sometimes there are not. But if you order your CXC in one batch, and it might be like more pale a little bit or more vibrant even, but I can't say that CXC is really in general more pale, more vibrant, more reddish or anything, but they don't have a quality control like DMC. Now I also had some CXC flosses that were like super fluffy, and they had like, it was super hard to stitch with them and I really hated it. So it can vary, but you pay 11 cents. So yeah, I would just say try it. Just buy like 10 skeins and just stitch a small piece with it and try it for yourself. But I think it's pretty nice. It's harder to work with than DMC, to have it look neat, as I said. So I always prefer DMC, but I can't afford doing everything with only DMC. Yeah, that's my stance on that. And oh well, so if you're if one color is a little bit paler, like in pieces like this, you don't see the difference in the end. Like there are like 300 colors in one Heaven and Earth designs. If like some colors are more pale and some colors are more vibrant, in the end it doesn't make a big difference. So there are many people that successfully stitch with CXC floss only, and that's fine. They're doing great. So go ahead, try it, and but as always, keep in mind we all have a responsibility to keep the companies that we love in business. So I always have that in mind, and I always try to buy original patterns, and I always try to buy DMC floss. So I would never only buy CXC because I love DMC so much. So for my Mirabilias and for my Chatelaine, I try to buy as much DMC as I can and order some colors with every order I place, and try to find, you know, fitting for my budget, try to find the middle ground for that, if that makes any sense. That's just how I feel. I always try to keep in mind that businesses need us, even business as big as Dimensions or as DMC, because everyone matters and everyone takes a part in that. And if we all just buy like fluffy CXC floss, DMC might start to struggle, and we don't want that. So, but see, still with CXC, you're fine. Okay, that was a long tangent. Now, let me keep this here maybe. So no, let me not keep this here. Okay, that was way longer than I wanted it to be. Now for my haul. You were probably wondering what all of this colorful goodness is, and that this was gifted to me by a customer of mine from my sewing supply store. This is donated by Jennifer, and she watched my Flosstube video, even though she doesn't stitch, and she said her grandma has some flosses that she doesn't need, or yeah. So she asked me if she could send them to me and if I could find a use for it, and I gladly accepted, of course, because look at these colors. I'm sure I find a good home for them in a project. They are Sari and BCT flosses, and on the bottom layer they are anchor flosses, and I'm sure I find some patterns in a magazine or on Etsy where I can use these. So thank you so much, Jennifer. Every time I will stitch with these flosses, I will think of you. Now I will think of you and your grandma, of course. I have a good friend that I'm not in touch anymore, but she donated some of the fabric scraps from her grandma that her grandma didn't need anymore, and I made a fun skirt and outfit from it, and you know, it was like more than 10 years ago, and still to this day, every time I wear this skirt, I think about her and her grandma. And I love just projects and materials that have a sentimental value to them and that I can connect with a person and a memory. So yeah, I very much connect these flosses with you forever. I'm telling you, it's true. Okay, so next up, let me put on my light again and make this room lighter. It's late at night, so I'm having a hard time bringing some light in here. Let me try to get this lighter as well. So the second thing, and that's all of my haul, as I really didn't stitch much, I didn't buy much. This is the Cross Stitcher magazine from September 2020, and I got this off a German Stash Unload group, and I fell in love with the front cover image so much. I really want to stitch this one day. I love the, you know, I bought the Shannon Christine patterns that are like a similar style. I love the blues and the pinks and the gold together. That's just even though mainly I like dark imagery, I also have a weakness for these kinds of stuff, like these vintagey but colorful patterns. Now let me do a really quick flip through this. Now here we have that guy, and oh yeah, there is a Doreen Jones Biscornu, and I really like this one. I can see myself stitching this next year, maybe in fall. And we have this pattern, not my style, but still very cute. Then I also love these flowers. They are made as cushions, but I don't see myself doing that. But oh, this is something I can really see myself stitching. The sewing machines, they're beautiful. You can also use a single sewing machine and put it on a card or on a gift for someone that sews. There's the fall sampler. As you know, I rarely find magazines that I find more patterns than one that I would want to stitch, but in this issue I find some. That's cute, nothing that I would stitch. That's also very cute, but nothing that I would stitch. And here is the cover project. I will for sure stitch that one. Oh no, my computer is up again and I don't know why. Now, there we go. So that's my haul. Now for plans and a lot of talking. So I keep this up so you have something to look at while I'm talking a lot. Now, my plans now till the end of the year. I would like to start a hashtag and a challenge, and maybe you want to join in with me. Now, I have to lower the brightness again. Okay, there we go. Okay, I want to start a hashtag Stitch Finale 2020. That's my challenge. I want to try. And I didn't stitch for many weeks on many different projects. I didn't touch many of my projects. So I really want to see them to the end of the year. I really miss all of my projects, and I think it helps to touch all of my projects until the end of the year to make new goals for next year. So the premise of the challenge and of the hashtag is to stitch all of the whips you have. If you have many, maybe you want to do a selection of focus whips or anything and touch them for a certain amount of stitches or a certain amount of time. Now what I want to do, I have 12 whips. I want to touch every whip until the end of the year, one by one after another, for 5 hours. That makes 60 hours. Until the end of the year. I think it's doable in 6 weeks. It's the middle of August now. No, it's not the middle of August. It's the middle of November now. And yeah, I want to have every single whip in my hand and do a video at the end of the year to make new goals and see what I want to focus on next year and see which whip I love the most. And that the best way to do that, in my opinion, is to have everything and stitch on everything for a little while. So that's my plan. The hashtag is Stitch Finale 2020. I'm writing it down below in the description box. And I noticed that I don't have all of my whips on Instagram. every time I finish the 5 hours on my whip. So yeah, I will post every whip to Instagram, and yeah, that's Stitch Finale 2020. I will show my final update in December, and I will do a comparison in December for my plans, what I planned in December 2019 for the year and what I actually accomplished, and the year didn't go as I was planning it, so there will be a big discrepancy. But we'll see. So press the subscribe button now if you want to see my whip parade and the comparison of my plans in my next video. Yeah, so finally, that's mainly what I wanted to talk about. Now I had another idea. I have been an Audible member for quite a while, and I rarely listen to audiobooks. I always keep coming back to YouTube, and I would love to have a challenge that's connected to audiobooks. Now, I love thrillers, mystery, like weird stuff with a little bit of sci-fi in it, and like mixed genres, not too much romance, but just interesting twists in stories of those genres. Also fantasy. So maybe we could start a Flosstube challenge around that. I would be very interested in that. I'm really not much of a fan of challenges that are too strict or have too much stitches involved, but yeah, that's just an idea. I mean, I have so much on my plate. I'm very hesitant to start a new thing, but maybe you have a tip of where I could join, or you want to start it with me, or maybe just post your ideas in the comments about that. So that's finally it. Enough talking, and thank you so much for sticking around. I got my video filming back on track now. I have a day where I can film once a week. Mainly it will be diamond painting, but my floss tubes should be up monthly again. So I hope to see you next time. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, see you next time. Have a nice stitchy day. Bye! I totally forgot to pick a winner for my Past the Stash of the Haunted House pattern. So congratulations, Sonia, for winning the pattern. Yay! Please contact me under my email address ladyrevenga@gmail.com.